Hello everyone, welcome to the first video of a new series looking at the classic custom figures in my collection. I thought we'd start off the series with a special figure. So this is the Emperor Dalek from The Evil of the Daleks, and it's a 5-inch scale custom that is a custom built figure, so it doesn't use any normal figures as the base. It's made out of a mixture of wood and plastics and lots of different small components. It is articulated and it's roughly in scale with the 5-inch figures. I'm not entirely sure if it's the perfect scale. I think it looks a bit too large, but it's a fantastic figure and I couldn't fault it at all. So it's based off the Emperor Dalek from The Evil of the Daleks. As part of the design, the figure doesn't really have much articulation. I've spoken to quite a few people online who were there for the original broadcast and they don't recall it ever moving. So the fact that the Emperor figure has articulation is quite impressive on the part of the person that made it, because originally I think it was just a big static object. It was seen as being part of the set or prop. It wasn't seen as being an individual character on the set. So the head can turn, which is great. It turns at the neck band, the black neck band, and then the eye stalk can go up and down. The eye stalk's already angled downwards when it's in its neutral position, so it can either go straight ahead or it can look even further down. It can't look up, but there's no reason why it would ever need to look up because it's always the highest kind of thing in the room anyway. And then that's all the articulation it's got. There's no wheels on the bottom or anything. The bottom is just flat, which you would expect, again, because there's no reason why you'd want to have the Emperor wheeling around the room. So obviously, apart from the articulation, the detailing on the figure is amazing. So working our way down, you've got the clear gloss hemispheres on the top of the head, which were originally a chumbly. I think in the episode, these were clear yellowish plastic, which kind of pulsated as the Emperor spoke. Obviously on this figure, they're solid, but you know, it's one of those things where because the episode doesn't exist, there's really no way for us to truly know what the proper appearance of this was actually like. And then you've got the brackets around the head. So again, on the Emperor prop, these only existed around the front half of the prop. The back half of the prop wasn't covered in these brackets because it was never seen on camera. So the guy who made this has customised the figure, taken the design all the way around the Emperor's body, but obviously on the original production it wasn't designed in the back. Beneath that you've got the neck, which separates the head from the body of the Emperor, and that's where the articulation is. You can twist the head around 360 degrees. And then beneath that you've got the spots, so you've got the two golden spots at the front, and then you've got the brackets running down the body, and the plugs for the different umbilical cables that come off the Emperor. And then at the very bottom you've got the diamond-shaped, the bottom part of the Emperor, and that rounds off the whole design. It's kind of it's a really strange shape. It reminds me of almost like a shuttlecock or like a chess piece. It's funny, it originally was supposed to resemble the comic Emperor a bit more, but using the materials they had in the studio to build the Emperor ended up losing the conical head shape and ending up looking more like a chess piece or a shuttlecock. But in terms of the Evil of the Daleks, it fits in with the design of that perfectly, and I think this is probably my favourite Emperor that's been shown on TV. It doesn't really compare to the Davros Emperor. You can compare the sizes of them here. So the Evil Emperor towers above the Davros Emperor, as in it really towers up on him. And that's the reason why I think it might have been slightly too large, is because if you think about the size of Davros's head in there, the Emperor Dalek wasn't that much larger than a human being, and Davros is absolutely dwarfed by it. But that's not a complaint. I like the size of it. I think it looks more imposing. So this is the Emperor with Patrick Troughton, Second Doctor, and a Dalek, so you can get an even better idea of how big it actually is. And again, the evil guard's eye stalk is roughly in the same area as the gold balls, and I think that's a good way to check to see the kind of rough size. Obviously in Evil of the Daleks it's on its dais for the whole episode, and it never really moves from there, so it always looks a lot more towering and imposing, but this figure looks towering without the base, so that's a nice touch. This figure is from one of my favourite stories. It's one of my favourite characters from my favourite stories, and it's one of my favourite pieces of design from the classic era. So for me to have this, I'm just overjoyed to have it. I got very lucky on an eBay auction a few years ago, and I've just cherished it ever since then. So for me, it's one of my favourite figures I own, probably my single favourite 5-inch scale figure that I own. This figure doesn't come with umbilical cables. It's just the figure on its own, but that's fine, because that's the kind of thing where if you want to add them, you can, and if you don't want to, then you also don't need to. I haven't got the space for them really, or any of the surrounding set. And obviously when I used it in my stop motions, I built my own custom throne room for it, which would have originally had wires, but I didn't have time to add them in. So here it is shown with some of the figures, so an Imperial and Skaro City Dalek fight, which I think is something that I'd love to see on screen, but obviously will never happen. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you have any questions or comments about the figure, just feel free to leave a comment and I'll answer as soon as possible. And the next time I'll be covering the more conventional classic figures from my collection. So keep an eye out for that, because the next video will be coming out very soon.